My daughter threw it in my face. "You look like a homeless person. I don't want to see you at my wedding." Her words cut like a knife, because I was the one who paid for everything, from the dress to the orchestra. She threatened security to keep me out, not knowing that without my card, her dream would fall apart like a house of cards. I stood there clenching my fists and knew that if I was not there, there would be no wedding. They thought they could humiliate me and forget me, but I would show them that justice always wins. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. I adjusted my tie, the knot too tight against my throat, and stepped into the velvet vine. The restaurant hummed with clinking glasses and soft laughter, its crystal chandeliers casting a warm glow over linen-covered tables. My jacket, a faded navy thing I'd worn to every important meeting since '98, felt out of place among the sleek suits and glittering dresses. In my hand, a folder of wedding invoices, checks I'd signed without a second thought, pressed against my palm. I was here to talk about Emily's big day, to share a meal, maybe even a smile, with my only daughter. Foolish hope, I suppose. The hostess led me to a corner table, reserved under my name. I sat, smoothing the folder on the tablecloth, and glanced at the empty chairs. Emily and Brandon were late. Typical. I ordered a water, sipped it slowly, and watched the door. Couples drifted in, their chatter blending with the jazz floating from hidden speakers. My fingers tapped the folder's edge. 50 grand, maybe more, tied up in this wedding. The dress, the venue, the string quartet, every cent from my savings. For her. Always for her. The door swung open, and there they were. Emily, my Emily, strode in, her auburn hair swept into a sleek bun, her dress a sharp black number that screamed money. Brandon trailed her, his phone glowing in one hand, his other arm looped casually around her waist. They looked like they belonged here, in this world of polished surfaces and effortless wealth. I stood, forcing a smile, and waved them over. "Dad," Emily said, her voice flat as she slid into her seat. No hug, no warmth. Just a quick glance at my jacket, her lips twitching in a way that said everything. Brandon didn't bother looking up from his phone. He muttered a, "Hey," and slumped into his chair, his tailored blazer creasing perfectly. "Good to see you both," I said, keeping my tone light. I brought the invoices, thought we could go over. "God, Dad, that jacket," Emily cut in, her eyes narrowing. "Did you pull it out of a dumpster?" I froze, my hand halfway to the folder. The couple at the next table glanced over, their conversation pausing. "It's fine," I said, my voice tighter than I meant. "Let's talk about the wedding." She rolled her eyes, leaning back as a waiter set menus before us. "Whatever. Just don't wear that to the venue. It's embarrassing." Brandon snorted, his thumb still scrolling. "Yeah, Frank, maybe stick to the guest list. Less visible." My jaw clenched. I opened the folder, sliding a check across the table. "This is the deposit for Silver Oak. 10,000. I need your signatures for the final booking." Emily barely glanced at it. "Fine, I'll sign later. Can we order? I'm starving." She waved the waiter over, her diamond bracelet catching the light. I watched her, searching for the girl who used to climb onto my lap, giggling as we read bedtime stories. Gone. Replaced by this stranger who saw me as... what? A walking checkbook? I tried again, lifting my water glass. "To your future," I said, forcing warmth into the words. "To you and Brandon, and a day you'll never forget." Emily's laugh sliced through the air, sharp and cold. "Oh, I'll make sure it's unforgettable. But you?" She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a hiss. "You're not coming, Dad. You look like a homeless guy. I'm not having you ruin my photos." The glass slipped in my hand, water sloshing onto the tablecloth. The restaurant seemed to quiet, or maybe it was just my pulse pounding in my ears. "What?" I managed, my voice low. "You heard me," she said, louder now, her eyes daring me to argue. "I don't want you there. You'll stick out like a sore thumb." Brandon chuckled, finally pocketing his phone. "Come on, Frank, don't make a scene. Maybe just send the checks and call it a day." I stared at them, my daughter and her fiancé, their faces smug, unyielding. The folder lay open, invoices spilling out. My life's work reduced to their entitlement, my hand tightened around the glass, knuckles whitening. "You forget," I said, my voice steady despite the fire in my chest. "These checks, they're mine. Every cent of your dream is mine." Emily's smile didn't waver. "Then keep your money, Dad. I'll get security to keep you out. Try me." The words hit like a slap. Security. My own daughter, threatening to bar me from the day I'd paid for. The waiter hovered nearby, his tray trembling. Guests whispered, their eyes darting toward us. I set the glass down, slowly, deliberately, and stood. The sear napkin crumpled in my fist as I tossed it onto the table. "You'll regret this," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Emily shrugged, already turning to the menu. "Whatever, Dad, just go." I walked out, my steps measured, ignoring the stairs. The cool night air hit my face as I crossed the parking lot. My car waited, a battered sedan among the gleaming SUVs. I slid into the driver's seat, my hands shaking as I gripped the wheel. The glove box hung open, a faded photo peeking out. Emily, 6 years old, grinning in a sunflower dress. My chest tightened. I slammed the glove box shut, started the engine, and muttered, "You'll see, Emily, you'll all see." The key scraped in the lock, and I pushed open the door to my house. Silence greeted me, heavy and unbroken, a stark contrast to the restaurant's clamor. My shoes scuffed the hardwood as I tossed the keys onto the hall table, their clatter echoing in the empty space. I was still shaking, Emily's words, homeless guy, security, looping in my head like a bad song. I sank into the armchair, the worn leather creaking under my weight, and let the quiet swallow me whole. The living room hadn't changed in years. Same faded curtains, same coffee table scarred from Emily's childhood art projects. My eyes drifted to the bookshelf, where family photos stood like sentinels. One caught me, Ellen, my wife, laughing on a beach, her arm around a tiny Emily who clutched a plastic bucket. I reached for it, my fingers brushing the frame. Ellen's smile, so alive, so real. 15 years since she'd been gone, 15 years since I'd promised to give Emily everything. I closed my eyes, and the memory came unbidden. The funeral, gray and cold, the air thick with lilies. Emily, barely 13, clung to my hand, her sobs muffled against my coat. "I'll take care of you," I'd whispered, my voice cracking. "Always." I'd meant it. Every late night at the office, every skipped vacation, every dollar funneled into her future. It was all for her. I opened my eyes, the photo still in my hand. Where had that girl gone? My phone buzzed, snapping me back. A text from Emily. "Don't ruin my wedding, Dad. Just stay out of it." My grip tightened, the screen blurring as my pulse surged. I wanted to type back, to tell her exactly what her words had done, but I didn't. Not yet. I set the phone down and stood, pacing to the bookshelf. Another photo. Emily at 16, rolling her eyes as I tried to teach her to drive. Even then she'd started pulling away, her gratitude thinning with every check I wrote. Another memory hit. The bank, 5 years ago. I sat across from a loan officer, signing for Emily's college tuition. $50,000, a second mortgage on the house. "This is a big commitment, Mr. Thompson," the officer had said, his pen hovering. "Worth it," I'd replied, picturing Emily's future. Marketing degree, a corner office, a life better than mine. She'd hug me that day, her "thanks Dad" clipped, her eyes already on her phone. I'd ignored the sting, told myself it was just her age. Now, standing in my living room, I saw it clearly. She'd taken everything, my money, my time, my heart, and tossed it aside like trash. I crossed to the desk, flipped open my laptop, and pulled up the wedding expenses. The numbers stared back. $12,000 for the venue deposit, $5,000 for the dress, $3,000 for the florist, $50,000 total and climbing. My savings, my security, all for her perfect day. And she wanted me gone. I slammed the laptop shut, my breath ragged. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in. I yanked open the desk drawer, rummaging past pens and old receipts until my fingers closed around a small velvet box. Ellen's wedding ring. I hadn't touched it in years. The gold band gleamed faintly, simple but heavy with memory. I could still see her slipping it on, her eyes bright with promises we'd kept until cancer stole her. I'd given Emily everything because of those promises. And now, I clutched the ring, its edges biting into my palm. Emily thought I was weak, a pushover she could bully and discard. Brandon thought I was a joke, a relic to mock. They were wrong. I wasn't just a checkbook. I was the man who'd built their dream, and I could tear it down. I set the ring on the desk, its glint a quiet challenge. "They think I'm nothing," I whispered, my voice steady now. "They're about to learn." The kitchen table was buried under papers, bank statements, invoices, scribbled notes. My coffee sat cold, untouched, as I hunched over the mess, a pen in one hand, a highlighter in the other. The numbers didn't lie. $5,000 for Emily's dress, $2,500 for the string quartet, $15,000 for the Silver Oak venue. I underlined another line, $800 for Brandon's custom shoes. Shoes. The gall of it burned in my chest. I'd paid for every stitch of their fairy tale, and they hadn't contributed a dime. I leaned back, the chair creaking under me. The kitchen was dim, the overhead light casting shadows across the chipped countertop. My laptop hummed, its screen glowing with the latest bank transfer, $200 for the caterer's deposit. I muttered to myself, 52,000 and counting, every cent from my retirement fund, every dollar I'd scraped together since Ellen died. For what? So Emily could spit in my face and Brandon could laugh? I grabbed my phone and dialed Jack, my old friend from the firm. His gruff voice answered on the second ring. "Frank, you alive? Been a minute." "Need to talk," I said, my tone clipped. "Brew Haven. 30 minutes. "Trouble?" he asked, a knowing edge to his voice. "You could say that." I hung up, grabbed my keys, and drove. Brew Haven was a small coffee shop on Main Street. Its windows steamed from the morning rush. The smell of roasted beans hit me as I stepped inside, the hum of conversation a low buzz. Jack was already there, sprawled in a corner booth, his flannel shirt untucked, his gray beard flecked with crumbs from a scone. "Looking rough, Frank," he said as I slid into the seat. "What's the deal?" I didn't waste time. I told him everything. The restaurant, Emily's venom, Brandon's smirk, the threat of security. Jack listened, his eyes narrowing, his fingers drumming the table. When I finished, he let out a low whistle. "Your kid's got some nerve, thinks you're her personal ATM." "Both of them do," I said, my voice low. "They're bleeding me dry, Jack, and I'm supposed to smile and take it." He leaned forward, his grin sharp. "So don't. You're not some chump. Show 'em who's boss." I sipped my coffee, the bitterness matching my mood. "I'm done playing nice, but I need a plan." Jack chuckled, crumbs falling onto his shirt. "Plan's simple. Hit 'em where it hurts. They're riding your wallet, right? Pull the plug." I nodded, the idea settling like a stone. Pull the plug. It was so obvious, yet I'd been too angry, too hurt to see it. Emily and Brandon thought they could humiliate me and keep cashing my checks. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back home, I found a letter on the doorstep, the Silver Oak logo embossed on the envelope. I tore it open, scanning the organizer's neat handwriting. Emily's latest demand, a custom wedding cake, $2,000, non-negotiable. I laughed, a short, bitter sound. She hadn't texted, hadn't called, just sent another bill. I pictured her, twirling in that overpriced dress, bragging to her friends about her perfect day, all on my dime. I set the letter on the kitchen table, next to Ellen's ring. The gold caught the light, steady and unyielding, like a promise I'd made to myself long ago. I wasn't weak, I wasn't invisible, I was the man who'd held this family together, and I'd be the one to tear their illusion apart. "Time to start," I said, my voice firm, the words hanging in the quiet. The letter and the ring sat side by side, a map to what came next. The glow of my laptop screen lit up the cramped office, casting shadows on the walls lined with old financial journals. My coffee sat cold, a thin film forming on its surface, as I hunched over a spreadsheet of wedding expenses. The numbers were a map of my sacrifice. $5,000 for the dress, $10,000 for the venue deposit, $2,000 for flowers that would wilt by midnight. I scribbled notes from my talk with Jack, his words, "pull the plug," looping in my mind. The letter to the wedding planner lay open in another tab, unsent but heavy with intent. I reached for my phone, my fingers steady, and dialed Sarah, the organizer. "Mr. Thompson, good to hear from you." Sarah's voice chirped through the line, bright but professional. Everything on track for Saturday? That's what I'm checking, I said, leaning back in my creaky chair. My tone was calm, almost too calm, but my eyes burned as I scanned the spreadsheet. Just want to confirm the catering and the band. No hiccups, right? She rattled off details. The caterer was booked for 150 guests. The band confirmed for a 4-hour set. I jotted down names, dates, cancellation clauses, my pen moving with the precision of a surgeon. And the contracts, I added, casual as if it were an afterthought. They're all finalized, no loose ends. Everything's locked in, Sarah assured me. Your payments cleared weeks ago. Good, I said, a faint smile tugging at my lips. Just making sure. I hung up, the silence of the room settling around me. The office felt smaller, the air thick with the weight of what I was about to do. I opened a drawer, pulling out a framed photo of Ellen, her smile frozen in time. My thumb brushed the glass, and a memory hit me hard. 10 years ago, Emily, barely 16, had dragged me to a shoe store, her eyes locked on a pair of sneakers. White, sleek, $200. Please, Dad, she'd begged, her voice sharp with teenage desperation. Everyone has them. I'd sighed, my wallet already thin from her school fees, but I handed over my card. Her smile had been brief, her thanks tossed over her shoulder as she clutched the bag. I'd told myself it was worth it, that her happiness was worth any price. Fool! I shook off the memory, my jaw tight. No more. I dialed Ron, my lawyer. His number burned into my memory from years of business deals. He picked up on the first ring. Frank, you old dog, what's up? Need a favor, I said, my voice low. Those wedding contracts, can you check them? I want to know my options. Specifically, how to pause payments without breaking any laws. Ron chuckled, the sound rough but warm. Finally hitting the table, huh? About time. Send me the files, I'll dig in. Appreciate it, I said, already pulling up the scanned documents. Keep it quiet. What, me? I'm a vault, he said, and I could hear his grin. You're playing chess now, aren't you? Something like that. I hung up, my pulse steady but quick. The spreadsheet stared back, each number a brick in Emily and Brandon's dream, and a lever I could pull. I opened the draft email to Sarah, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Dear Sarah, I'd like to review some bookings. Possible changes to the budget. Simple, vague, a seed of chaos. I didn't send it. Not yet. My eyes flicked to the velvet box on the desk, Ellen's ring inside, its gold a quiet reminder of promises I'd kept and ones I'd break. I stood, stretching my stiff back, and paced to the window. The street outside was dark, the neighbor's porch light flickering. Emily thought she could erase me. Brandon thought he could mock me, but they'd built their castle on my foundation. I returned to the desk, picked up the ring, and held it to the light. Its weight grounded me, its shine a spark of resolve. They'll learn, I whispered, my voice cutting through the silence. They'll learn what I can do. The bell above Brewhaven's door jingled as I stepped inside, the scent of fresh coffee wrapping around me like a familiar coat. Emily and Brandon sat at a corner table, her manicured nails tapping the polished wood, his phone glowing in his hand. My folder of invoices felt heavy under my arm, a shield and a weapon. Emily's text had been blunt. Meet us at Brewhaven. We need to talk. No, please, no thanks. Just another demand. I squared my shoulders and crossed the room, my steps deliberate. Dad, Emily said as I sat, her voice clipped, her eyes barely meeting mine. Took you long enough. Traffic, I lied, setting the folder on the table. Brandon glanced up, his smirk faint but sharp, like a blade half drawn. The cafe buzzed around us, baristas calling orders, steam hissing from the espresso machine. I leaned back, waiting. Emily didn't waste time. The cake, she said, leaning forward, her diamond earrings glinting. It's not good enough, we need a better one. 2,000 more. You'll cover it, right? I raised an eyebrow, my fingers brushing the folder's edge. 2,000? For a cake? She huffed, crossing her arms. Don't be cheap, Dad. This is my wedding. You want me to look like a joke in front of everyone? Brandon chuckled, his eyes on his phone. It's your daughter's big day, Frank. Don't skimp now. My jaw tightened, but I kept my voice even. I've already paid for the dress, the venue, the band. You sure this cake's worth it? Emily's eyes flashed. You're seriously haggling? God, Dad, why do you always make everything so hard? Her voice rose, drawing a glance from a nearby couple. Just pay it. It's not like you're broke. I remembered another moment, 5 years back. Emily's high school graduation. I'd surprised her with a car, a used but shiny sedan, parked in our driveway with a red bow. Her squeal had lit up the street, but when I handed her the keys, her "thanks Dad" was flat, her eyes already on her friends waiting nearby. No hug, no real gratitude, just another thing she expected. I'd swallowed the hurt, told myself she'd grow out of it. She hadn't. "All right," I said now, my tone soft, almost defeated. "I'll handle the cake, don't worry." Emily's shoulders relaxed, her smile triumphant. Brandon's smirk widened, as if he'd won something. I stood, tucking the folder under my arm. "I'll call the planner today." "Good," Emily said, already turning to Brandon. "See? Told you he'd come through." I walked out, the bell jingling behind me. The afternoon air was crisp, the street lined with parked cars gleaming under the sun. I pulled out my phone and dialed Ron, my steps quickening as I headed to my car. "Frank," Ron answered, his voice warm. "Got those contracts. You're clear to pause payments, long as you notify within 48 hours. "Perfect," I said, sliding into the driver's seat. "Start drafting the notices. I want everything ready." "You're really going all in," Ron said, a hint of admiration in his tone. "This is gonna sting." "Let it," I replied, starting the engine. They earned it. At home, I sat at my desk, the office dim except for the laptop's glow. The draft email to Sarah was still open, its words unchanged. I added a line. "Please confirm cancellation options for the band and catering." My finger hovered over the send button, then pressed down. The whoosh of the email felt like a gate swinging shut. I leaned back, my eyes drifting to the family photo on the wall. Me, Ellen, Emily, all smiles, a lifetime ago. I clenched my fist, the anger steady and cold. They started this, I thought, my gaze locked on Emily's frozen grin. Let's see how they finish it. The kitchen was quiet, the morning light filtering through faded curtains. I sipped my coffee, the mug warm in my hands, when my phone buzzed. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. I set the mug down, my pulse quickening, and answered. "Mr. Thompson," Sarah said, her voice tight with worry. "There's a problem. The band and catering. They've been canceled. Some mix-up with the payments." "I'm so sorry. I don't know how this happened." I leaned against the counter, my face a mask of concern, but my eyes glinting. "Canceled? That's impossible. I paid those invoices weeks ago." "I know," she said, flustered. "I'm trying to sort it out, but the vendors need confirmation to reinstate. Can you verify the payments?" "Of course," I said, my tone heavy with feigned dismay. "But I'm having some financial issues. Might need to adjust things. Can you send me the cancellation terms?" She hesitated, then agreed, promising to email me by noon. I hung up, a slow smile spreading across my face. The plan was moving, gears turning in the dark. My coffee had gone cold, but I didn't care. I was just setting the phone down when it rang again. "Emily, you did this!" she screamed the moment I answered, her voice raw with panic. "The band's gone, the food's gone. How could you ruin everything?" "Emily, calm down," I said, my voice smooth, almost soothing. "I don't know what's happening. I'll fix it, all right? Just give me a day." "Fix it?" she snapped. "You're sabotaging my wedding. You're doing this because of that stupid fight. God, Dad, I knew you'd pull something like this." I let her rant, her words washing over me like static. I pictured her, pacing her apartment, her perfect plans unraveling. "I'll call Sarah," I said when she paused for breath. "We'll sort it out." "You'd better," she hissed, and the line went dead. I set the phone down, my smile returning. The kitchen clock ticked, steady and indifferent, as I pulled out my laptop and dialed the Silver Oak estate. "Silver Oak, this is Claire," a crisp voice answered. "Frank Thompson," I said, leaning back. "I'm calling about my daughter's wedding. There's some uncertainty with our budget. Can we discuss pushing the booking back a week?" Claire's tone shifted, cautious but accommodating. "That's unusual, Mr. Thompson, but I can check availability. I'll need to confirm with the planner." "Do that," I said. "I'll follow up tomorrow." I hung up, my fingers drumming the table. The seeds were planted, now I'd watch them grow. A memory flickered, sharp and vivid. Emily, 8 years old, wobbling on a bike in the park, her pigtails bouncing. I ran beside her, one hand steadying the seat, my voice calm. "You've got this, kiddo," I'd said, and when she pedaled on her own, her laugh had been pure joy. I'd clapped, my chest swelling with pride. That girl was gone, replaced by someone who saw me as an obstacle, not a father. I left the house, needing air, and walked to the park down the street. The benches were damp from morning dew, the air sharp with the scent of cut grass. I sat, pulling Ellen's ring from my pocket. Its gold caught the sunlight, a quiet anchor. I'd gone too far to stop now. Emily's panic, Sarah's confusion. They were proof the plan was working, but a small part of me, the part that remembered her laugh, wondered what I'd lose when this was over. My phone buzzed, snapping me back. A text from Brandon. "You're destroying us, Frank. Stop this." I stared at the words, my thumb hovering over the screen. Then I pocketed the phone, the ring still in my hand, and smiled. The park stretched out before me, empty and still, as I tucked the ring away and stood. The office smelled of old paper and coffee, the kind of stale air that clung to years of late nights. I sat at my desk, bank statements fanned out like a losing poker hand, each line a reminder of the wedding's cost. My laptop hummed, open to an email draft I hadn't sent. The phone rang, shattering the quiet. Brandon's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring twice, steadying my breath before answering. "Frank, you've screwed us." Brandon's voice was sharp, barely controlled. "The band's gone, the catering's canceled. What the hell are you doing?" I leaned back, the chair creaking. "Brandon, I don't know what happened. Let's talk. My office, an hour?" He huffed, his anger crackling through the line. "You'd better fix this, old man." The call ended abruptly. I set the phone down, my lips twitching into a faint smile. Old man, he'd regret that. An hour later, the office door swung open and Brandon stormed in, his designer jacket slung over one shoulder like a trophy. His face was flushed, his jaw tight. "You're incompetent," he said, not bothering to sit. "You think you can ruin our wedding and walk away? Fix it. Now." I raised my hands, palms up, the picture of confusion. "I'm trying, Brandon. There must be a mix-up with the vendors. I'll call Sarah, get it sorted." My voice was soft, almost frail, but my eyes stayed locked on his, unyielding. He scoffed, pacing the small room. "You're too old for this, Frank. Should have let us handle the money from the start. You're embarrassing, Emily." My fingers brushed the edge of a photo on the desk, Ellen and Emily, smiling at a picnic years ago. The memory hit like a fist. 2 years back, I'd sat in this same chair, tweaking Brandon's resume for an IT startup. I'd spent hours suggesting better phrasing, cutting fluff, even calling a contact to put in a good word. When he got the job, he'd texted a quick "thanks," nothing more. Not a call, not a handshake, just another thing he took for granted. "I'm sorry," I said now, my voice trembling just enough to sell it. "I'll make calls, get the band back, give me a day." Brandon stopped pacing, his sneer softening into something like pity. "One day, Frank, don't make Emily cry again." He turned and left, the door slamming behind him. I waited until his footsteps faded, then opened my laptop. The email to Sarah was simple. "Please confirm cancellation of the florist due to budget constraints." I hit send, the whoosh of the message a quiet victory. My phone buzzed almost instantly. "Emily." A text. "Dad, please don't ruin this. I'm begging you." I stared at her words, my thumb hovering over the screen. Begging. A word she'd never used with me before. I stood, crossing to the window. The street below was quiet, the afternoon sun glinting off parked cars. Emily and Brandon thought they could bully me, shame me, and still cash my checks. They were wrong. I'd built their dream, piece by piece, and now I was dismantling it with the same care. I returned to the desk, picking up Ellen's ring from its velvet box. Its gold was cool against my palm, a steady weight. "They haven't seen the worst yet," I whispered, my voice low, cutting through the office's stale air. The phone sat beside the ring, Emily's message still glowing on the screen. The drive to Silver Oak was short, the road lined with manicured lawns and towering oaks. I parked at the edge of the estate, the marble facade of the venue gleaming under the midday sun. My shoes crunched on the gravel path as I approached the entrance, the air heavy with the scent of roses from neatly trimmed bushes. I adjusted my tie, a deliberate gesture, and stepped inside, ready to play my part, Claire, the manager, greeted me in the foyer, her clipboard clutched like a shield. "Mr. Thompson, so good to see you. Here to check on the setup." Her smile was professional, oblivious to the storm I was brewing. "Something like that," I said, my voice warm but measured. "Just want to make sure everything's on track for my daughter's big day." My eyes scanned the room, chandeliers sparkling, tables draped in white linen, a stage set for a band that wouldn't play. The opulence was staggering, a monument to Emily's greed. Claire led me through the main hall, pointing out details: the dance floor, the bar, the space for the floral arrangements that no longer existed. I nodded, asking questions, innocent ones about guest capacity and power outlets, while slipping in the real purpose. "About the bookings," I said, pausing near a window overlooking the gardens. "There's been a change, family circumstances. I need to cancel the catering and band, maybe more." Her pen froze, her smile faltering. "Cancel? But the wedding's in 2 days. We'd need to refund deposits, rearrange." "I understand," I cut in, my tone heavy with regret. "It's unavoidable. Can you process it today? I'll cover any fees." My eyes were steady, betraying nothing. She nodded, scribbling notes. "I'll need to confirm with the planner, but we'll handle it. I'm so sorry, Mr. Thompson." "Don't be," I said, forcing a sad smile. "These things happen." We finished the tour, her voice a distant hum, as I pictured Emily's face when she realized her perfect day was crumbling. As I drove home, a memory surfaced, soft and warm. Emily, 6 years old, curled up in bed, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her chin. I'd read her a fairy tale, my voice shifting to mimic a dragon's growl, her giggles filling the room. When she drifted off, I'd kissed her forehead, whispering, "I'll always keep you safe." That promise had driven me, shaped every sacrifice. Now, it felt like a chain I'd finally broken. My phone rang as I pulled into my driveway. Sarah, the planner, her voice high with panic. "Mr. Thompson, the florist just canceled. They said you requested it. What's going on?" I leaned against the steering wheel, my tone soothing. "Sarah, I'm handling it. There's been a budget issue, but I'll sort it out. Don't worry." She stammered, unconvinced, but I ended the call before she could press further. Inside, I sat at my desk, the room dim except for the glow of a single lamp. A box of Ellen's old letters sat open, their faded ink a tether to a life we'd shared. I pulled one out, her neat handwriting spilling across the page. "Frank, you're my rock. Don't ever forget it." I traced the words, her strength seeping into me. Emily and Brandon thought they could erase me, but I was the one rewriting their story. I picked up Ellen's ring, its gold glinting in the lamplight. I turned it in my fingers, the metal warm from my touch. Tomorrow, I thought, my gaze fixed on the letter, they'll feel it all. I stood behind a row of cedars, the morning air cool against my face, and watched the chaos unfold at Silver Oak. The estate's iron gates were locked, a chain glinting in the sunlight. Guests milled in clusters, their murmurs rising like a swarm of bees. Emily, in a white gown that shimmered like a cruel joke, pounded on the gate, her veil askew. "Open it!" she screamed, her voice raw, desperate. Brandon, in a tailored tux, yelled into his phone, his free hand raking through his hair. I stayed still, my breath steady, my hands in my pockets. Sarah, the planner, darted between groups, her clipboard useless now. She fumbled with her phone, dialing me for the 3rd time that morning. I let it ring, the vibration a faint pulse against my thigh. The scene was exactly as I'd planned. The band gone, the catering scrapped, the flowers non-existent, and now the venue itself sealed shut. My work, invisible but precise, had brought their dream to its knees. A woman in a blue dress whispered to her husband, gesturing toward Emily. A man in a suit checked his watch, then walked back to his car. The crowd thinned, their confusion turning to frustration. Emily spun toward Brandon, her fists clenched. "This is his fault!" she shouted, her words carrying across the lawn. "He did this!" Brandon snapped his phone shut, his face red. "Your dad's a lunatic, Em. I told you he'd screw us over." I shifted, the cedar branches brushing my shoulder, and let their anger wash over me. A memory clawed its way up, sharp and heavy. The day of Ellen's funeral, rain drumming on the chapel roof. Emily, barely a teenager, clung to me, her sobs muffled against my coat. "I'll give you everything," I'd whispered, my voice breaking. I'd meant it, Every overtime shift, every dream I'd buried, every cent I'd saved, all for her. Now, watching her unravel, I wondered if that promise had been my first mistake. My phone buzzed again, a text this time. Emily, you destroyed us, Dad. How could you? I stared at the words, my thumb brushing the screen. Destroyed. The word felt right, yet it left a hollow ache in my chest. I'd won, hadn't I? Their perfect day was ash, their arrogance exposed, but the victory tasted bitter, like coffee left too long on the burner. I turned, slipping through the trees toward my car, parked a block away. The gravel crunched under my shoes, the sound steady, deliberate. Sarah's voice echoed behind me, pleading with the security guard. Emily's cries grew fainter, replaced by the rustle of leaves. I reached the car, sliding into the driver's seat, and pulled Ellen's ring from my pocket. Its gold gleamed, a quiet reminder of who I'd been and who I was now. I glanced in the rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of the chaos. Emily had dropped to her knees, her gown pooling on the grass, her hands covering her face. Brandon stood over her, gesturing wildly, his voice lost to the distance. I set the ring on the dashboard, its shine steady against the faded upholstery. The engine roared to life, the sound drowning out the last of Emily's sobs. I shifted into gear, my hands tight on the wheel, and drove. The late afternoon sun hung low, painting my front porch in shades of gold and shadow. I stood there, hands in my pockets, the weight of Ellen's ring a quiet comfort against my fingers. The street was still, save for the distant hum of a lawnmower, when a car screeched to a stop at the curb. Emily's car. She stumbled out, her hair a tangled mess, her face streaked with mascara. Brandon followed, his tux jacket gone, his shirt untucked. They looked like ghosts of the smug couple who'd mocked me at the Velvet Vine. Dad! Emily's voice broke as she rushed up the steps, her hands clasped like a prayer. Please, fix it. The wedding. It's ruined, but you can make it right. I'm sorry, okay? I was wrong. I didn't move, my eyes steady on hers. Brandon lingered at the foot of the porch, his usual smirk replaced by a twitch of desperation. Frank, he said, his voice low, almost pleading. We'll do whatever you want. Just call the venue, get it back on track. I let the silence stretch, my thumb brushing the ring in my pocket. Emily's sobs filled the air, sharp and jagged. But they didn't touch me. Not anymore. You're sorry, I said finally, my voice calm, deliberate. For what exactly? She blinked, tears spilling. For what I said. At the restaurant. I didn't mean it, Dad. I was stressed. Please, you have to help us. Brandon stepped forward, his hands raised. Look, Frank, we got heated. It was a mistake, but this is Emily's day. You don't want to destroy that, do you? I remembered a different day, years ago, sitting in a bank's sterile office. Ellen had been gone 6 months, her absence a wound that wouldn't close. I'd wanted to start my own consulting firm, a dream I'd nursed for years. The loan officer slid papers across the desk, but I'd pushed them back. Not now, I'd said, my voice hollow. Emily's college tuition was due, her future a weight I couldn't ignore. I'd buried my dream to build hers, and she'd never known. You humiliated me, I said now, my gaze shifting between them. Called me a nobody, a joke, told me to stay away from the wedding I paid for, and now you're here, begging, because your house of cards fell. Emily's knees buckled and she grabbed the porch railing. I didn't mean it. Dad, I swear I love you. Just give us another chance. Brandon nodded, his voice softer. We'll make it right, Frank. No more attitude, you're in charge. I stepped closer, my shadow falling over them. You thought I was weak, a bank you could drain and discard. But every dollar, every detail, that was mine. You spat on it, on me. I paused, letting the words sink in. There's no wedding without me, and I say no. Emily's sob was a choked gasp. Dad, please. No, I repeated, my voice a blade. You made your choices. Live with them. Brandon's face hardened, but he said nothing, his hands dropping to his sides. Emily sank to the steps, her head in her hands. I turned, walking into the house, the screen door creaking shut behind me. Their voices faded as I crossed the living room, my steps slow but sure. I sank into the armchair, the leather cool against my back, and pulled out the family photo from the shelf. Me, Ellen, Emily, frozen in a moment when love was enough. I set the photo down, my fingers lingering on its frame. Peace settled over me, heavy and real, but a thought flickered, sharp and clear. This isn't over yet. The living room was quiet, the morning light slipping through the curtains to pool on the hardwood floor. I sat on the couch, my phone balanced on my knee, scrolling through local news sites. Headlines screamed about the Silver Oak fiasco, Norwalk's latest gossip, wedding canceled in shocking turn of events. Emily and Brandon's names weren't mentioned, but the details, locked gates, furious guests, a bride in tears, painted a vivid picture. I read on, my face calm, my heart steady. No joy, just a deep, unshakable calm. I set the phone down, my eyes drifting to the family photo on the coffee table. Ellen's smile, Emily's gap-toothed grin, my arm around them both. A memory stirred, soft and warm. Years ago, Ellen and I had lain in bed, the house silent except for the creak of the old furnace. We'd talked about Emily's future, her tiny hand clutching a crayon as she drew in the next room. "She'll be happy," Ellen had said, her laugh bright. "We'll make sure of it." I'd nodded, promising to give our girl the world, no matter the cost. I'd kept that promise, hadn't I? But at what price? My phone buzzed, pulling me back. Jack's name lit up the screen. I answered, leaning back into the couch. "Frank, you sly dog." His voice boomed, thick with amusement. "Heard about the wedding, or lack of it? You crushed 'em, didn't you?" I smiled faintly, my fingers tracing the photo's edge. "They did it to themselves, Jack. I just pulled the plug." "Pulled the plug? You flipped the whole damn table." He laughed, the sound rough and warm. "Folks in town can't stop talking. Emily and Brandon are toast." "They'll survive," I said, my tone even. "Maybe they'll learn something." Jack snorted. "Doubt it. But you, my friend, you're a legend. Drinks on me next week." I chuckled, promising to meet him, and hung up. The room felt lighter, the air easier to breathe. I'd taken back my dignity, piece by piece, and the weight of their betrayal was gone. I stood, stretching, and walked to the park down the street. The air was crisp, the leaves crunching under my boots. I sat on a bench, the wood cold through my jeans, and pulled Ellen's ring from my pocket. Its gold caught the sunlight, steady and true. A couple passed by, their voices low but clear. "Heard about that wedding disaster?" the woman said, her scarf fluttering. "The bride's dad pulled the funding. Total scandal." Her husband nodded. "Bet they're hiding out now. Poor girl, though." I kept my eyes on the ring, my face still. Poor girl. Emily had chosen her path, just as I'd chosen mine. The whispers didn't touch me. They were proof the truth was out, my justice seen. My daughter threw it in my face. "You look like a homeless person. I don't want to see you at my wedding." Her words cut like a knife, because I was the one who paid for everything, from the dress to the orchestra. She threatened security to keep me out, not knowing that without my card, her dream would fall apart like a house of cards. I stood there clenching my fists and knew that if I was not there, there would be no wedding. They thought they could humiliate me and forget me, but I would show them that justice always wins. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. I adjusted my tie, the knot too tight against my throat, and stepped into the velvet vine. The restaurant hummed with clinking glasses and soft laughter, its crystal chandeliers casting a warm glow over linen-covered tables. My jacket, a faded navy thing I'd worn to every important meeting since '98, felt out of place among the sleek suits and glittering dresses. In my hand, a folder of wedding invoices, checks I'd signed without a second thought, pressed against my palm. I was here to talk about Emily's big day, to share a meal, maybe even a smile, with my only daughter. Foolish hope, I suppose. The hostess led me to a corner table, reserved under my name. I sat, smoothing the folder on the tablecloth, and glanced at the empty chairs. Emily and Brandon were late, typical. I ordered a water, sipped it slowly, and watched the door. Couples drifted in, their chatter blending with the jazz floating from hidden speakers. My fingers tapped the folder's edge. 50 grand, maybe more, tied up in this wedding. The dress, the venue, the string quartet, every cent from my savings. For her. Always for her. The door swung open, and there they were. Emily, my Emily, strode in, her auburn hair swept into a sleek bun, her dress a sharp black number that screamed money. Brandon trailed her, his phone glowing in one hand, his other arm looped casually around her waist. "That Thompson wedding," a man at the counter said, stirring his latte. "Heard the couple's done for. What a mess." His friend nodded, her earrings glinting. "The dad's the real story. Pulled the rug out from under them. Good for him." I sipped my coffee, the corner of my mouth lifting. The gossip didn't sting. It was a badge, a quiet nod to the justice I'd claimed. I paid and left, the afternoon sun warm on my face as I walked home. The street was alive with kids on bikes, their laughter sharp and free. I climbed the porch steps, the familiar creak of the boards grounding me. Inside, I opened a small wooden box on the mantel, where Ellen's ring had lived for years. I held it one last time, its gold warm from my touch, and set it inside, next to the camera. The box closed with a soft click, a chapter sealed. I'd carried Ellen's memory through every choice, every fight, but now I was ready to carry myself. I stepped back onto the porch, the sky ablaze with the day's end. The sunset stretched wide, its colors bold and fleeting, like a promise kept. I leaned against the railing, my hands loose, my heart open. "I'm free," I thought, the words quiet but sure, as the last light faded into dusk. If you liked this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.